John Clark with Sunshine Prosthetics here today with tips for physical therapists from prosthetists. Today is a serious topic that I want you to have a little fun with. Today I want to talk about falling and getting up. Now, I'm going to put this in the category of moderately advanced. You definitely don't want to do this with your patients that are just learning to use a prosthesis. You don't want to use this with your patients that have real mobility challenges. But you're going to be surprised when you start to ask and investigate on your patients that you think are fantastic walkers and some of the fears that they have when it comes to falling with their prosthesis. So, people that are doing well and maybe seeing you for just refinement, or maybe it's someone that just came in to say, hey, I wanted to show you how good I'm walking now. See if you can listen, ask a few questions, and find out if fear of falling with the prosthesis might be holding them back. If it's someone that's currently in therapy, fantastic. We're going to move right to these next steps. So, probably don't want to teach them to fall as the first action of this. Let's just teach them how to feel comfortable getting down to the ground and getting up off of the ground. Now, this is really intimidating because even for transtibial patients, where walking is fairly normal and natural and doesn't need to be retrained, transfemoral patients, you do have to retrain walking. But in both cases, getting down on the ground and getting back up is not going to be natural or normal with a prosthesis. Just like we went over in getting up and down steps, I'll try to put that link up there, you're going to follow the principle of down with the bad, up with the good. So when you're teaching a patient to get down to the floor, and you can do this off of a mat or off of a chair or out of their wheelchair, you always want to teach them to let the prosthesis be the lead one down. You want them to realize and understand that, yes, absolutely, positively, they can kneel on that prosthesis, whether they're trans tib or trans fem. No matter what the style of prosthesis it is, I'm going to say almost without exception, they can be kneeling on that prosthesis. So teach them to lead to the floor by getting that knee from the prosthetic side underneath them. Once that's there, they can load that, put their weight on that, and they should be comfortable figuring out how to get them down the rest of the way. Now, when they first do this, it might be a little bit of a plop at the bottom of that, but chances are you can assist them and coach them and let them explore their own environment in a safe way where they're comfortable getting down. And depending on how they're feeling and how you think they're doing, down might just be kneeling on the ground. That's good enough as a start. Down might be, away from the chair, the handhold, the mat, whatever they started on, and flat out on the floor. Or it might be somewhere in between. Now, reversing this. So, if you manage to get them away from their chair, and they're flat out on the floor, the first thing to do is just to move up to a 4-point position where they're on their knees and their hands. I'm going to tell you, even with people that are pretty healthy and doing pretty well, first thing to do is to tell them to go find something, chair, piece of furniture, something that they can put their hands up on and have that as part of their strategy of standing. Because it's definitely a much more advanced technique if they're standing just from a flat floor. So get up on the hands and knees, get to some place where they can get their hands on something so they can get up a little more upright. And then up with the good. So while the knee on the prosthetic side stays down, they get their sound foot underneath them, get their balance and comfort there before they drive up and get the prosthesis underneath them. Now, understand that that foot and ankle system on the prosthetic side doesn't turn sideways, doesn't fold flat, it's gonna feel in the way. All of that's okay and understandable. Just let them take the time to discover where they need to put it in space so that they can comfortably get their sound leg underneath them and drive up to a standing position. Or drive up to a position where they can scoot their butt back into the chair. So the reason why I wanted to talk about this today is that factor of people do have falls with prostheses, and it's going to be a little bit more than people in the same category that have two legs. And frequently it is in that range of, shame where they don't really want to talk about it. They don't really want to acknowledge it. It becomes an ever-increasing insecurity that has an impact on the way that they're walking. We talked about arm swing earlier. Try to link that too. And sometimes that keeping a hand right by their side where they're not swinging their arm, that guarding behavior is an expression of the fact that they've fallen. So if you see that, ask them about it. Find out. It is amazing the emotional reactions you'll get sometimes when you teach your patients how to get down to the floor and back up, because they have this lingering crisis of confidence when it comes to what happens if I fall. And you can answer those questions. Now, once you get them comfortable doing that, I'm going to step back and say, I don't want to recommend anything here. However, I know you guys know how to teach the right way to fall. So you may consider whether you want to actually then take that added step and train your patients to make sure they know the right way to fall, to dissipate energy, to protect themselves as they go down. And that might be just going through it by cueing and thinking about it in advanced planning. And it might be all the way through actually training, dropping down on that floor. I wish you well. And I pray that this will make one of those emotional differences for one of your patients so you can really see just how important this is. Bye.